By the time I upload this video onto YouTube, it will officially be 1 week until the NBA trade deadline. And at first, I feel like myself and many other people thought that this was going to just be another boring deadline. There weren't many players that were, those superstar talent level, guys. And then eventually Jimmy Butler started to kind of talk about how he wanted to leave Miami, and that just kind of became like confusing at a certain point. With all the different suspensions and drama that there was, it was like, okay, is he even going to get traded? Like, I didn't even know what was going on for all of December, but now we know that Jimmy Butler is most likely going to be a guy that is in a different jersey after February 6th. And he's not the only guy, because yeah, we might not have a huge deadline like we did, with Kevin Durant joining the Phoenix Suns, but there's some guys that might move around the league that could actually change how we view, the Western Conference or the Eastern Conference. We could see some contenders be made just from one trade. Things are pretty insane. Now, I'm not necessarily going to go deep into like the depth of certain teams and like talk about how 12th man off the bench needs to get traded because he's not good for the team, whatever it is. I mean, I could sit here and talk all night about how Trey Lyles and Kevin Huerter should be off my franchise, but we're not going to go over that, okay? We're going to go over the bigger guys, the more, household names, I guess you could say. And I can't believe I just said household names because I'm starting this off with Kyle Kuzma. The Kyle Kuzma situation is so interesting to me. I've been a very big critic when it comes to the Washington Wizards. I never really liked their franchise or how they ran things. They're kind of like the Sacramento Kings, except I'm not from Washington, so I don't really care for them. But to be completely honest with you guys, they are building something pretty solid over there. They have Alex Sarr, they got Bub Carrington, they got, who's that other guy? I'm missing someone else. They have a third, great star. And Bilal as well. Obviously, you have guys like Jordan Poole or whatever, but I'm more talking about the younger talent, right? The more exciting players. I just said Jordan Poole is not young talent, and he's 25. Damn, that's actually kind of crazy. But you know what I mean. And Kyle Kuzma has been nothing but a negative for this team. He's, been more of the, control of the ball, hasn't really let the younger guys get their touches. I mean, I'll be completely honest. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know everything about the Wizards game plan and how they run their plays. I rarely watch the team, but I do know that when I'm watching this team, I would way rather see guys like Bilal, Bub, Alex Sarr, Poole, whoever it is, get their touches over someone like Kyle Kuzma. And I think another big thing is it's not even necessarily about his game. Like, that's not what I don't like by itself. I also just don't like his attitude. I really don't like him as a player's mentality. There's some guys in the league that want to do nothing but win basketball games. It is why they wake up every day. It's why they put the work in. That is their end goal. Win games, win a championship, whatever it is. But then you have other guys that just kind of wake up, get their money, and call it a day. They might go get some cool clothes. They might go buy a cool car, whatever it is. That's just kind of how they roll. They don't really care about the winning side of things. And to be completely honest with you, I think Kyle Kuzma is one of those guys. He had an opportunity to leave this Washington team. They said, hey, we will trade you. We will send you anywhere, whatever. And he willingly said, I feel comfortable here. I feel comfortable here in Washington. And it didn't really seem like it came from a place of oh, I enjoy playing here, or I believe in the future of the Washington Wizards franchise. It was more of yeah, I don't really feel any pressure. On the Lakers, you have the Lakers fans, you have Lakers winning, I guess you could say, culture, and that doesn't exist on the Wizards. So he said, I don't really care. And now he's completely lost that because he's turned into complete shit. So I would assume to see Kyle Kuzma maybe get traded. Part of me doesn't think that he will because teams don't really want him anymore. He's been in a huge slump. He's not really the guy that a lot of teams were wanting before. So maybe Kyle Kuzma stays, maybe he doesn't, but I do know one guy that is 100% going to leave and could even be traded by the time this video comes out is Zach LaVine. Or to be completely honest, anyone on the Chicago Bulls roster. I mean, they even said it themselves. Every single player besides Matis Buzelis is up on the market. We're talking Kobe White, we're talking Vucevic, we're talking Patrick Williams, Zach LaVine, whoever it is, they are on the market. Now, is this way overdue, and does it not make any sense to do this so late into the season when you have such a special draft class coming up? Yeah, I don't really know what the fuck the Chicago Bulls were even thinking, but it is finally time that they're making this decision. I don't necessarily know what they want to get in return. If I had to assume, it would be draft capital or young players, and it seems like the best fitting team for someone like Zach LaVine specifically is going going to be the Golden State Warriors. And it's kind of funny because if we're talking about the Golden State Warriors, Kuminga might not be in Golden State for that much longer. I genuinely think, I don't know if there's a world where it can work when it comes to the finances. I haven't looked into it literally at all, but I feel like there's a world where we don't see Kuminga on the Golden State Warriors and we don't see Zach LaVine on the Chicago Bulls, and you know, they might end up kind of jersey swapping there. Once again, logistically, that might not work out. I might just be talking out of my ass, but either way, Kuminga is a guy that is looking to be on the trade market. I don't understand either one of these teams. The Chicago Bulls, it's been like, hey, rebuild. Your team is terrible. You traded DeMar, like you started it. You started your rebuild by getting rid of one of your main guys, and then you just stopped. And now you're not in a position where it's like you're looking really good for a good draft pick this year. But with the Golden State Warriors, I mean, I've made an entire video about it if you want to watch that one. We've been begging them to make a trade, and they haven't. And now they're thinking about trading their young players for their future. Like, I don't even know what's going on anymore. These teams make absolutely no sense. But we could see Jonathan Kuminga off the Warriors, Zach LaVine off the Bulls. I would be more interested, honestly, in seeing where someone like Kobe White goes, or Nikola Vucevic as well. But either way, I am very excited to see what the Chicago Bulls can do at the deadline, because Zach LaVine, he's not washed. He's been a great player this year, one of the better players this season. I feel like he would actually be all-star caliber if, you know, the Bulls as a team weren't that bad. So those two guys are definitely, you know, players to look out for. And I know I talk about the Kings a lot on my channel. I mean, shit, the background lights now in this video are purple. You might know the next guy that is on the trading block. That is, of course, Cameron Johnson. Now, I continue to say Cam Thomas in my last video, so I'm sorry if I continue to do that in this one. But Cameron Johnson is arguably one of the bigger targets in this year's deadline. A defensive wing that can score great and is stuck on a pretty bad Brooklyn Nets team that doesn't really have anything to do with them. The Sacramento Kings were definitely one of the teams that were very interested in him, but I'm starting to really not like the Brooklyn Nets. Like, yes, I know Cameron Johnson is a good player. I understand. But something with these rebuilding teams asking for way too much for a guy that's like, yeah, he's good, but he literally provides no value to you. And you're sending him to the other conference, but like you're asking for fucking 2 first-round picks and like a young guard like Carter. Like, what are we doing? So even though I don't think Cameron Johnson is going to be a Sacramento King by the time the deadline comes around, he will most likely or hopefully be out of Brooklyn. Definitely something to look forward to. Also, really wanting to see what the trade deal actually ends up being, because like I said, from being a Kings fan and hearing the rumors and hearing the trade offers that were maybe sent in, I feel like it's going to be a huge overpay for a guy like Cameron Johnson. So it'll be very interesting to see how that goes. Following Cameron Johnson, we probably have the second biggest target for this year's trade deadline. Actually, I don't even know if he's the second biggest. Jimmy Butler, ladies and gentlemen, the guy that has been causing all the beef down in Florida. His situation has been very interesting because at first, I'm not really going to go through all the drama, but at first it was like, all right, he wants to get traded. The Miami Heat were going to look around and see what they could do. And it seemed like they were trying to really hold on to like this really high price for Jimmy, still asking for a good amount of return, even though he's kind of old and doesn't really have much left in the tank. And I think the Miami Heat kind of shot themselves in the foot with that, because now you obviously suspend Jimmy Butler indefinitely. He can't play. No teams really know how he's performing. Is he really washed, or was he just not enjoying Miami? And now you've asked for the price to be so high, and no one is willing to meet you at that price, that they are now selling Jimmy at a low. They're selling him at such a low point where there's other teams that aren't even like originally involved in a Jimmy Butler deal that are calling saying, hey, maybe we can get Jimmy. Obviously, that excludes the Memphis Grizzlies and Sacramento Kings, because for some reason he doesn't want to come to Sacramento. Jimmy, what the fuck is the problem? I literally made a coffee for you, and now you're saying you don't want to come here. That's kind of fucked up. But then we finally have probably the biggest shock for this year's deadline, the guy that nobody really expected to be moved, De'Aaron Fox. Now, maybe some people expected him to be moved, but that was way before, like when the team was not only losing, but also maybe after they fired Mike Brown, and everyone thought that this was a, you know, irrational move by the Sacramento Kings front office, and De'Aaron Fox was going to be mad at them for it. Like around that time, yeah, there was a thought where maybe Fox was going to leave the team or request a trade or whatever it is, but that didn't happen. They continued to win. The team was looking good. They were on a nice little roll, competing for a genuine playoff spot in the Western Conference, and well, obviously all hell broke loose. Once again, I made a video talking very in-depth about the De'Aaron Fox situation, but he's someone who I will say once again, I said it in that last video, there is no other team that he is going to besides the San Antonio Spurs. He's made it very clear that if he doesn't get traded this season, there are two teams that he is going to sign with. It is either going to be the Sacramento Kings or the San Antonio Spurs. So you look at other teams that maybe had, trade rumors like the Houston Rockets. I think the Miami Heat were involved in some of these conversations. The chances of them taking a huge risk by trading, the entire house for De'Aaron Fox, probably not going to look too good. They're only going to get 1 year of him. So I would say if there's any move that's going to happen, it will be with San Antonio. As a Kings fan, the trade either, preferably, would have Devin Vassell, Stephon Castle, and a bunch of first-round picks. That is what I am asking for. San Antonio Spurs fans, let me know in the comments below. Am I asking for too much? I've heard a lot of people really protect Stephon Castle and say that he's not up for grabs. We're giving you De'Aaron fucking Fox. So overall, I feel like this deadline went from being really slow. Maybe a couple of players, Yusuf Nurkic might get traded. There's some talks about Miles Turner, whatever it is. Some kind of like lower role player guys into like huge pieces that can actually change how a team performs for a couple of years. Like Zach LaVine on the Golden State Warriors, and then if the Warriors can get a center as well, Curry could have a couple of years left in the tank. That's all I'm gonna say. The Warriors could actually make something possibly happen. It's Stephen Curry, for God's sakes. Same thing if the Kings were to get Cameron Johnson. Okay, yeah, I'm just coping at this point. I will say though, if there's one thing that we do know for certain, it's that no matter where Jimmy Butler goes, he's not gonna win a ring. I don't care if he goes to Phoenix and they get rid of Bradley Beal. It's all fake. Sorry, Jimmy, but that's what happens when you disrespect Sacramento. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about this year's trade deadline down in the comments below. Things are about to get absolutely insane. And if you want to stay up to date on what's going on in the trade deadline, I'm going to be making videos every single time a move happens. So you're going to want to subscribe to the channel so you know when those videos come out. You could stay up to date while you're down there. If you can like the video as well, that does help out a ton. But like I said, I read and respond to everyone down there. Hope you guys all enjoyed. Please, De'Aaron Fox, stay with us. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.